Hey guys, SpiralShift here today. I'm going to be discussing all about the Animal Crossing series, what made it great and still great today. I'm specifically going to analyze the original game, which debuted on April 14th, 2001 in Japan, on the Nintendo 64. Western audiences got their first taste of the series on November 15th, 2002 in North America. Later, however, Europeans received the game on September 24th, 2004. The game at this rate was re-released on the Nintendo GameCube. However, with the upgraded hardware at hand, the game was able to use the GameCube's internal clock, which was certainly a selling point back in the day. A world that is even alive when the player shuts off the game. My question here today is what makes the series so well remembered, and how does the original game compare to future releases? This is rather relevant, especially since a brand new Animal Crossing game is in the works and is coming out this year, which of course I'm very hyped for. But alas, how does the original game start up and hold up to today? Primarily, the player is swept right away by one of the most relaxing songs at the title screen. This is a great song sample to introduce the series' great soundtrack. Proceeding onward past the title screen, the first character the player meets is no other than KK Slider. This iconic guitar-playing dog is actually based on a real-life person, the composer of the game, Kazumi Tataka. He's most well known by hiding his own songs in games that he's worked on. For example, after your talk with KK Slider, the player is seen greeted on a train by Rover. He asks you basic questions including your name, town you're going to, and other basic oddities. Something that surprises a lot of new players is how certain questions can result in how your character will look. Once hopping off the train and leaving Rover behind, Tom Nook makes his very first appearance. He willingly lets you have a house, but of course, infamously, you owe him a lot of money. Furthermore, paying off Tom Nook is one of your primary goals to achieve in the game. The awesome thing is, there's nothing really stopping you from not paying your house loans at all. The player is given an unlimited amount of time to do this, of course. In a realistic scenario though, I would recommend paying off Tom Nook's loans because it results in expanding your house tremendously. Okay, so you want to pay off your loans. Well, how does one earn money, or in this case, bells? Well, what are bells, you may ask? Bells are the currency used within every single game in the series, and can be earned primarily via selling goods to Tom Nook such as fish and bugs. There's so much freedom aside from this, however. The game offers the ability to customize your house with furniture, bond with your villagers, and dress up with multiple clothing options. Hell, you can even create custom designs at the Able Sisters shop. These custom designs can even be put on your clothing and even on your front door. All this accumulates ironically into a relaxing and stress-free experience. It seems strange. How could chores and manual labor lead to such a great game? Simply put, Animal Crossing rewards the player. It's the whole concept around the game. For instance, if the player wants to furnish their home via furniture, interacting with villagers is a must. Villagers can give you an assortment of items including furniture by completing their tasks/favors. Speaking of villagers, in your town they have preset personalities including snooty, cranky, lazy, peppy, and much more. Aside from these personalities and characteristics, residents of your town all feel unique in their own very way. Dialogue is one point I must give the translation team credit for. On a side note, the truth is localizing the original proved to be quite a challenge. Aside from the massive amounts of text that needed to be translated, certain holidays from the Japanese version was either altered or removed to appeal more to a Western audience. All these changes create a game that players can relate to. These little touches that I mentioned before bring life into the series. Furthermore, something that I praised before was the game's title music. The series is no stranger to great music. The music in this game is usually atmospheric. The music presented at hand correlates to the time of the day, such as I tend to prefer the nighttime and very early morning tracks because of how tranquil they are. For instance, having a quiet, ominous vibe in the early morning gives a sense of being alone. Quite frankly, this makes sense as not many villagers tend to be out so late. The daytime, however, invokes a playful and peppy vibe, which of course is appropriate since the daytime is when the player will need such energy to complete errands at hand. I also must comment about the sound effect department. Everything is so satisfying to listen to and everything sounds the way it should sound like. Simply perfect. Things like this are only subconsciously appreciated because the sound design is able to mesh so well. Frankly, I feel like I've been praising this game to hell and back, Well, when the original is compared to the newer entries in the series, some issues do arise. Some gripes include not being able to stack fruits, having to mail fossils to be discoverable, non-elaborate outfit customization. In addition, I won't criticize the graphics for obvious reasons. The game was originally created for the Nintendo 64. Even at the time, the graphics were probably considered outdated. Aesthetically though, the design is very clean and easy on the eyes. For anyone who wants to go back to the series, I would definitely recommend this game by all means. It's not a distracting point whatsoever. Actually, one thing I do prefer aesthetically is how the camera is set on an overhead perspective. In the modern games, the developers opted for a cylindrical design for the terrain. The main reason why I prefer the original style is because, like Zelda, the screen will shift when the player goes off the edge, or in this case, an acre. Splitting up the town's specific areas into acres organizes it all. Also, places where events take place are typically marked by each acre it's in. This saves a decent amount of time and proves to be more convenient. This is one of the few examples where I feel like the original game has an edge over the newer entries in the series. There are many examples where this occurs. Such examples include being able to customize the player's inventory background, having a local dump which has a similar purpose to the police station, the monthly lottery that occurs at Tom Nook's store, being able to put out the player's custom design on the player's door, and last but not least, being able to play the original Nintendo Entertainment System. These are no joke, the original full-fledged games back in the day. Sadly, this last unique feature will probably never make another debut again. Well, that's most likely because of Nintendo Online, and it'd kind of be a poor business decision to have these in a new Animal Crossing game. Aside from that, there are plenty of interesting quirks about the original that give it its unique quality. There was one thing that I failed to mention that is a significant difference from the newer games. The game in question that I'm comparing this to is Animal Crossing New Leaf, which is so far the newest entry in the series. Well, probably not for long anyway. Either way, I'm mentioning the fact that within the first entry, the player was not tasked at all with being mayor. Being the mayor in New Leaf always irked me. Not on a gameplay stance, I feel that the system enables the player to customize their town properly. This of course includes the numerous public works projects that spruce up your town. No, what irks me is how being mayor of your town often complicates things with your villagers. Please, let me elaborate. Being mayor within the town will typically conjure praise, but yet there are cranky villagers that will dislike you at first. On the other hand, although, the more peppy and friendlier villagers, it kind of seems like they're kissing up to you. Well, I mean, if someone were to meet a real-life politician, wouldn't that person want to be friendly, just for their own personal gain? Yeah, I don't know. As a kid, this kind of weirded me out, and I kind of notice it less as I get older, but I can't help but look back to the fact. Now, compare that to the original game, or Wild World and City Folk, or Let's Go to the City, for my 2 European viewers out there. These games made you start out as a nobody, a loser perhaps. For God's sake, even in the original game, you're a slave to Tom Nook until you can pay off your debt. It just makes more sense why within the earlier games, your first set of certain villagers would treat you perhaps in a negative light. It's your job, the player, to prove to themselves and everybody else that you aren't a poor nobody and you can achieve anything within the game. When your house is fully upgraded, you fully bonded with your villagers, the museum's full again, you've just overcome such feats that the game has thrown at you. All this was intended by the game. It's even proved within the first conversation I mentioned before with KK Slider. He explains to you that moving away gives you freedom and choice. To not listen to what anyone tells you, to see the world. To look forward and start anew while earning friends along the way. It will be so hard, but with enough work, anything is possible. As a kid, I never looked into this, but as a young adult, it's scarily to the point with what I'm dealing with. I'm working for one day where I can work for myself within YouTube and Twitch to the very top. Compared to the original, New Leaf immediately puts you into place of mayor. As cool as that sounds, it's just not as realistic, and looking back on it, unrewarding. Success in life is earned, not given. Overall, looking back on it retrospectively, I appreciate how humble the original was, and the lesson it brought with it. Quite frankly, the lessons I've learned by writing this script and analyzing the game a bit. Look guys, I'd highly recommend trying out this game if you're very curious. It truly does age well. Now look, just for the record, I'm not totally bashing the newer entries, specifically New Leaf. That game is probably the best out of the whole series so far. I just simply wanted to look back at the original and see what worked and didn't, and how well it aged. Small gripes aside, sorry for ranting rather long towards the end there. I did enjoy talking about this topic although. The video was so much fun to make, and I hope you guys really enjoyed it at the end of the day. Well, you made it to the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'm going to be working on a upload pace of perhaps every 2 weeks a video. I'm not too sure about that, but you guys can find me on Twitch in the link below and other social media accounts. Thank you guys for watching, and see you next time. Peace.
Quick, me, na,